Thank you, Taryn. The city of Painesville has been making some headlines the past few weeks. Talks of a benzene plume contamination that is spreading in the well waters has been giving the media and the city something to talk about. I headed to Painesville to dig deep into just what a plume is and what was being done. A lot of stuff going on, and as President Obama proposed in his latest intentions at the State of the Union address, one of his main goals is to make education affordable for everyone. I looked into just how the educational system and students feel about the latest proposal. We all know that texting and driving is a dangerous combination, but what you may not know is that this is just as dangerous as this. Now, to help me demonstrate just where Minnesota falls on this whole thing, you can see this map here of the United States and their overall health concerns. Now, if you click on the link here at binge drinking, notice how this map changes. And in Minnesota, currently ranked 44th out of 50 states as far as their binge drinking concerns go. And right here, it looks at 18.4% of the population in Minnesota does binge drink. In this whole Midwest area here, that's a lot of where we see most of the binge drinking happening. Finding a job is hard enough with the interview process, resumes, and the pressures of competition. Now add that employers may want your Facebook password. Talk about nerve-wracking. Yeah, one man is taking a stand this holiday season to help those in need. And you know, if you drive past the blue line off of Pinecone Road in Sartell, you may have noticed a blue and gray tent. Veteran Eric Jungles looks to raise money for the homeless this holiday season in a very unusual way. Lent begins with Ash Wednesday, where people are marked with ashes on their forehead, much like you see on mine. And throughout the season, they do an assortment of different things, like going to church, saying some extra prayers, or reading the Bible. It's not like this contest hasn't been done before. It's actually a fad down in the cities where people are allowed to submit their current artwork to eventually end up on the sidewalk.
I wouldn't give up my password.
To get my dream job, yeah, I'd probably do it.
It does put students in a real awkward position, though.
These folks are talking about giving up their Facebook passwords to potential employees.
It's not a widespread practice. If we were to talk to our employers, we belong to a group called the Minnesota Association of Colleges and Employers. Social media is a common topic the last 2 years. Many of the employers still aren't even really using it.
But when it comes down to it, is there a line that gets crossed when asking for it?
Accessing people's personal information can open you up for anti-discrimination lawsuits. The asking people for their password, of course, I think is a way of them getting around that, because if you give it to me, it's kind of open season now.
Finding a job is hard enough with the interview process, resumes, and the pressures of competition. Now add that employers may want your Facebook password. Talk about nerve-wracking.
I don't totally agree with giving up my password for that, just because I do have some personal stuff on there.
I feel like it's a private thing that I don't need to give up my password for.
I mean, the safest assumption is anything you put out there, blogging, tweeting, Facebook, if someone wants to find it badly enough, they can.
Probably nothing more or less than a normal person.
Yes.
Many of us have practiced the error of using a cell phone while behind a vehicle. And for the month of April, the National Safety Council wants to make drivers more aware.
You know, we want to point out that distracted driving includes any activity that prevents the driver from being focused on the task at hand, which is driving their vehicle. And the U.S. government estimates about 10% of all drivers at any given moment are using a cell phone.
Now put that number with the dangers at hand, and the stats don't lie.
You know, driving is the single most dangerous thing any of us do on a daily basis. It's the leading cause of death, accidental death for all of us. It's the leading cause of all death, accidental or otherwise, for those between the ages of 15 and 30.
We all know that texting and driving is a dangerous combination, but what you may not know is that this is just as dangerous as this.
That's one of the misperceptions about this whole issue, is that somehow by putting one hand back on the steering wheel, we've become significantly safer, and we just don't have any evidence that that's the case. In fact, there's over 25 studies that have looked at that issue and haven't been able to find any safety benefit to using a hands-free device.
And even though it may be hard, doing what's difficult is often right.
Well, the best tip I can give to people, and I challenge everybody on this, is try driving for a period of time, and I recommend a month. You know, pick this month of April and decide to drive without using a cell phone for any reason, shape, or form.
So let me put colleges and universities on notice. If you can't stop tuition from going up, the funding you get from taxpayers will go down.
Those were the words President Obama uttered at his State of the Union address Tuesday night. The president's goal is to lower educational costs to make college a reality and affordable for all students.
Well, the average tuition per semester is about $3,500 for like a 15 credit load or 15 credit hour load. So yeah, average is about 6 to 7 a year.
With tuition as high as it is now, it leads to the question, what do students think the price of an education is worth?
Relatively, the tuition here is actually pretty fair considering when you go to a private university or like a U of M, it's like double.
Well, since I'm paying for college myself, so I have to like take out loans. And I'm actually not coming here next year. I'm going to St. Cloud State next year. Yeah, I just think it's kind of ridiculous.
Anything's a great idea. Anything should be on the table. So I am definitely looking forward to seeing how Congress and the executive branch kind of work that out.
Higher education can't be a luxury. It is an economic imperative that every family in America should be able to afford.
When the Minnesota Territory was becoming the North Star State.
History is complex. History in our community is diverse and always has been. The film is called North Star, Minnesota's Black Pioneers, and it's 2 hours of Minnesota history broken up into single profiles, so it's very segmented. Part of why we did that is we knew educators like to use this kind of content, but if you have an hour-long or 2-hour-long documentary, it's kind of hard to use in the classroom.
You'd find Black people providing barbershops, tailors, other sorts of things that cater to personal needs, personal grooming.
I've been fortunate to do several history documentaries about the state and its history and culture and its diversity.
A slave named Dred Scott was brought to Fort Snelling.
It's really fun as a filmmaker. A history documentary kind of calls on more challenges cinematically. It requires a little more. And it also kind of begs innovation because there is such a similar kind of familiar approach to telling American history through film. And so it's something that's fun to play with. Also that there's a lot we can learn from history. A lot of the issues of the day we've struggled with as a state, as a nation, over and over again. And I just really feel like if we reflect on our history, we can learn a lot and be informed as to how we move forward into the future.